Nobody warns you that checking someone for fever with your lips instead of your hand will cause complete chaos. Natasha found that out the hard way when she kissed a complete stranger's forehead at his wedding. The silence that followed was the kind that makes your ears ring. So this story's basically going to teach you that the best relationships start in the messiest ways, and that's totally fine. Like, completely normal, actually. Get comfy, because there's going to be drama, sweet moments, and some serious family issues. Then show some love by hitting like and subscribe for more stories. Natasha pressed her lips against the tall man's forehead just as the officiant opened his mouth to speak. The entire ballroom in downtown Boston fell silent. Cameras stopped clicking. Whispers died mid-sentence. She pulled back, eyes wide with horror at what she'd just done. "Oh no! Oh no, no, no!" she stammered, her Ugandan accent thickening with panic. I thought you were having a medical emergency." The groom, Hyun-Woo Park, stared at her with an unreadable expression. His jaw was tight, eyes dark and calculating in a way that made her stomach flip. Behind him, a woman in an elaborate white dress let out a shriek that could shatter glass. "Security! Security!" The bride's voice carried across the room like a whip crack. "Get this crazy person away from my husband!" Natasha's hands trembled as she backed away, her simple lavender waitress uniform suddenly feeling like a spotlight. "I'm so sorry. You were swaying and your face went pale, and I just thought—" "You thought what exactly?" The bride stormed forward, her face twisted with rage. "That you could just walk up and kiss my fiancé on our wedding day." "I didn't kiss him. I mean, I did, but not like that." Natasha's words tumbled over each other. "Where I come from, when someone looks sick, we check if they have fever by touching foreheads, and I panicked and used my lips instead of my hand because I was holding the tray and— Do I look stupid to you?" The bride's voice rose higher, but Hyun-Woo raised one hand, silencing her immediately. His eyes never left Natasha's face. "What's your name?" "Natasha Luanga. I work for the catering company." "I'm so sorry. I'll leave right now." "No." His voice was quiet but absolute. "Stay." The bride grabbed his arm. "Babe, what are you—" "I said stay," he repeated, still looking at Natasha. Then he turned to face the crowd of over 200 guests. "The wedding is cancelled." The ballroom exploded into chaos. "What did you just say?" The bride's perfectly made-up face went from red to white in seconds. "You heard me, Vivian." Hyun-Woo's voice carried a cold edge now. "I'm calling it off. You can't do this to me." Vivian's voice cracked. "Not after everything we've planned. Not after you've been sleeping with my cousin for the past 6 months?" Hyun-Woo pulled out his phone, tapping the screen a few times before holding it up. "Should I play the video for everyone, or would you prefer to leave quietly?" Vivian's face drained of all color. Natasha felt like she'd walked into a drama she had no business witnessing. She tried to edge toward the service entrance, but Hyun-Woo's voice stopped her. "Ms. Luanga, don't move." She froze like a deer in headlights. Vivian let out a sound between a sob and a scream before grabbing her dress and running toward the exit. Several guests followed her, probably her family and friends. The remaining crowd buzzed with excited whispers and phone cameras pointed in every direction. "Everyone out." Hyun-Woo's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Wedding's over. The Park family will be in touch regarding explanations." His tone suggested there would be consequences for anyone who stayed to gawk. The ballroom cleared faster than Natasha thought possible. Within 10 minutes, only she, Hyun-Woo, and 2 men in dark suits remained. The 2 men looked like they could bend steel with their bare hands. "Sir, should we—" one of them began. "Give us the room, Jinsu." Hyun-Woo loosened his tie with one hand. "And make sure those videos don't make it online. Pay whoever you need to pay." The men bowed slightly and left through a side door. Natasha's heart hammered so hard she was sure he could hear it. I should really go. My manager is probably freaking out and... How did you know? Hyun-Woo moved closer, and she noticed how tall he really was. Maybe 6'2". His presence filled the space around her. Know what? That I needed... saving. His lips quirked slightly. Not quite a smile. I genuinely thought you were sick. Natasha clutched her empty serving tray like a shield. You swayed a little and your face went really pale, and I've been trained in basic first aid, so I just reacted without thinking. You work for Summit Catering? Yes. Well, kind of. I'm temporary staff. I'm actually a nursing student at UMass Boston, but I need extra money for rent and textbooks, so I pick up catering shifts when I can. She was rambling again. She always rambled when nervous. A nursing student. Something shifted in his expression, softening just slightly. That explains the instinct to help. Are you really part of the Mafia? The question slipped out before she could stop it. His laugh was short and sharp. What makes you think that? The way everyone listened to you immediately. The men who look like bodyguards. The fact that you had video evidence of your fiancée cheating ready to go. Natasha bit her lip. Also, I may have overheard some of the kitchen staff gossiping about the Park family and their business interests. And that didn't make you run away screaming. I'm from Kampala. She lifted her chin slightly. We don't scare easy. This time his smile was genuine, transforming his entire face. No, I suppose you don't. He pulled out his wallet and extracted several crisp $100 bills. For your trouble and your discretion. Natasha stared at the money. It was probably more than she made in 2 weeks. I can't take that. You can and you will. He pressed the bills into her hand. Consider it payment for saving me from the biggest mistake of my life. You really didn't know she was cheating? His jaw tightened again. I suspected. Had my people gathering proof for the past month. Today was supposed to be the confrontation. Just didn't expect it to happen quite like this. Why go through with the wedding at all then? Family pressure, business arrangements, the usual reasons people do stupid things. He shoved his hands in his pockets. My father wants me to settle down, produce heirs, take over the family business properly. Vivian came from the right family, had the right connections. On paper, she was perfect. But not in reality. Not even close. He studied her face with an intensity that made her want to squirm. You really just acted on instinct, didn't think about consequences. I rarely think about consequences when someone might be in trouble, Natasha admitted. My mother says it's going to get me killed someday. Smart woman, your mother. She's back in Uganda. I FaceTime her every Sunday. Why was she telling him this? She thinks Boston is too cold and too dangerous and keeps asking when I'm coming home. Are you? Planning to go home? After I finish my degree, maybe. Or maybe I'll stay. I haven't decided yet. She finally looked directly at him. Why are you asking me all these questions? Shouldn't you be, I don't know, dealing with the fallout from calling off your wedding? Probably. But he didn't move. Give me your number. What? No. Why would I? Because I want to thank you properly. Take you to dinner. Somewhere nice where you don't have to serve other people. Natasha's mouth fell open slightly. You just called off your wedding 30 minutes ago and you're asking me out? I'm asking if I can thank you with a meal. His tone was careful, measured. Nothing more. Unless you want it to be more. But that's not what I'm asking right now. Her mind raced through 1,000 reasons why this was a terrible idea. He was clearly involved in dangerous business. He'd just had a very public breakup. She barely knew him. He was probably on the rebound. Okay. The word came out before her brain approved it. His eyebrows rose. Okay. One dinner. Somewhere nice. But not too nice because I don't have clothes for really fancy places. She pulled out her phone. And this doesn't mean anything. It's just two people eating food together. Just two people eating food together, he repeated, taking her phone and typing in his number. I'll text you tomorrow to set something up. You better not be a serial killer. I'm not. He handed back her phone, his fingers brushing hers briefly. I promise my crimes are strictly white-collar. Mostly. That's not as reassuring as you think it is. Noted. He glanced toward the door where voices were rising in what sounded like an argument. You should probably leave before my mother arrives. She's going to have opinions about today. Good luck with that. Natasha started backing toward the service entrance. Natasha? She paused. Thank you. Genuinely. His expression was sincere in a way that made her chest feel tight. Today could have gone very differently. You're welcome. She managed a small smile. Try not to pass out before tomorrow. She hurried through the service corridors, her mind spinning with what had just happened. The other catering staff bombarded her with questions the moment she reached the kitchen, but the manager quickly shooed everyone back to work and pulled her aside. Whatever happened out there? We didn't see anything, understand? His voice was low and urgent. The Park family pays us very well to be discreet. I understand. Natasha nodded quickly. Good. Now get out of here before someone decides you're a liability. Your shift is over. She didn't need to be told twice. The January cold hit her the moment she stepped outside, but she barely felt it. Her phone buzzed in her pocket before she'd even reached the tea station. Unknown number. This is Hyun-Woo. Are you free Wednesday evening? She stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. Natasha, I have class until 6, but I'm free after that. Hyun-Woo. Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. Send me your address. Natasha. Shouldn't I meet you somewhere? That's safer, right? Hyun-Woo. Probably. But I was raised to pick up my dinner companions properly. Your choice, though. She thought about it, then sent him her apartment address in Dorchester. Her roommate Kafilwe would think she'd lost her mind, but maybe she had. Maybe this was the most reckless thing she'd ever done. Or maybe it was exactly what she needed. Wednesday evening found Natasha standing in front of her tiny closet, having a minor crisis. The red dress makes you look like you're trying too hard. Kafilwe lounged on her bed, eating plantain chips and offering commentary. The blue one is too casual. The black one is perfect, but you wore it to your cousin's funeral last year, so it has bad energy. This was a mistake. Natasha groaned, pressing her palms against her eyes. I should cancel. I should definitely cancel. You should definitely not cancel. Kafilwe sat up, her South African accent getting sharper. When was the last time you went on an actual date? And don't say that disaster with the pre-med student who spent 2 hours talking about his car. This isn't a date. He said it was a thank you dinner. Girl, please. Kafilwe rolled her eyes so hard Natasha was surprised they didn't fall out. No man who looks like that, and yes, I looked, him up online, takes a woman to dinner as a simple thank you. He's interested. He just got out of a relationship where his fiancée was cheating on him with his cousin. Kafilwe pointed a chip at her for emphasis. That's not a relationship. That's a nightmare. You probably did him the biggest favor of his life. Natasha finally pulled out a deep purple dress with long sleeves and a modest neckline. It was simple but elegant, and it didn't have any bad memories attached to it. That one. Kafilwe nodded approvingly. Wear your grandmother's earrings with it. By the time 7 o'clock rolled around, Natasha had changed her mind about the entire thing at least 15 times. She was just reaching for her phone to send a cancellation text when the doorbell rang. Too late now, Kafilwe sang out from the kitchen. I'll get it. Natasha heard the door open, followed by Kafilwe's voice taking on a distinctly protective tone. You must be Hyun-Woo. I'm Kafilwe, the roommate, the one who knows where you live and has several large brothers. Noted. Hyun-Woo's voice carried amusement. I promised to have her home at a reasonable hour. You better, and she has to call me at least once during dinner so I know she's okay. Kefi! Natasha rushed out, mortified. Stop threatening him. I'm not threatening, I'm setting expectations. But Hyun-Woo grinned and stepped aside. Have fun. Be safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. That leaves a lot of options, Natasha muttered, grabbing her coat. Hyun-Woo looked different out of his wedding attire. He wore a simple black sweater and dark jeans, though the watch on his wrist probably cost more than her entire semester's tuition. His hair was less formally styled, falling slightly across his forehead in a way that made him look younger, less intimidating. You look beautiful. He said it simply, without any of the flowery language some men used. Thank you. You clean up nice. Yourself, when you're not about to pass out at your own wedding. His laugh was genuine this time. Fair point. The car waiting outside was nicer than anything Natasha had ever been in. Sleek and black, with leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The driver nodded at them but didn't speak. Where are we going? Natasha asked as they pulled away from her apartment building. There's a place in Brookline I think you'll like. Small, family-owned, excellent food. Nothing too flashy. You didn't have to avoid flashy for my sake. I avoided flashy for my sake. He settled back in the seat, angling his body slightly toward her. I've had enough spectacle to last me a lifetime. Small and quiet sounds perfect right now. The restaurant he'd chosen was exactly as described, tucked into a side street, warm lighting spilling from the windows, the kind of place you'd walk past unless you knew to look for it. Inside, the owner greeted Hyun-Woo by name and led them to a corner booth that offered privacy without feeling isolated. You come here often? Natasha asked once they were seated. Often enough. Mrs. Chen makes the best dumplings outside of Korea. He paused. Do you like Korean food? I've had it a few times. I like it, but I don't know enough about it to have sophisticated opinions. Good. Then I can order for us, and you can try things without expectations. He did exactly that, speaking to Mrs. Chen in rapid Korean, while Natasha tried not to stare at how his entire demeanor changed when he spoke his native language. He seemed more relaxed, more himself somehow. So, she said once Mrs. Chen had left with their order. How bad was the fallout? From Sunday? About as bad as expected. He poured them both water from the pitcher on the table. My mother had opinions. Many, many opinions. My father was more pragmatic about it. He never liked Vivian anyway, but the business arrangements were convenient. What kind of business? Import-export. Shipping. Some real estate. His tone suggested there was more to it than that. The Park family has diverse interests. That's a very diplomatic way of putting it. I've learned to be diplomatic about a lot of things. He met her eyes directly. But I won't lie to you, Natasha. My family's business operates in gray areas sometimes. We're not the violent criminal organization the movies like to portray, but we're not saints either. I appreciate the honesty, and she did. My father used to say that most businesses operate in gray areas. They just don't admit it. Used to? He passed when I was 16. Heart attack. The old pain was distant now, more of an ache than a sharp wound. It's part of why I want to be a nurse. I kept thinking if someone had known what to look for, maybe they could have saved him. I'm sorry. His voice gentled. That must have been hard. It was. But my mother is strong. She made sure I finished school, saved money for university. Coming to America was her dream for me, even though it meant leaving her behind. The food arrived in waves, steaming dumplings, perfectly grilled meat, spicy stews, banchan in small, colorful dishes. Hyun-Woo explained each dish patiently, showing her how to wrap the meat and vegetables together, how to mix the sauces properly. This is amazing, Natasha said around a mouthful of dumpling. Seriously amazing. Better than the cafeteria food at UMass? So much better, although the cafeteria kimchi fried rice isn't terrible. That's high praise. He smiled, and she noticed how his whole face transformed when he did. Tell me about nursing school. What made you choose Boston? Scholarship, she answered honestly. I applied to about 20 schools and UMass. Boston offered the best financial aid package. Plus, Kafilwe was already here doing her master's in public health, so I had a built-in support system. That's practical. I'm nothing if not practical. She paused, considering. Well, except for Sunday when I kissed a complete stranger at his wedding, that was wildly impractical. Best impractical decision I've witnessed in years. He reached across the table, not quite touching her hand, but close enough that she could feel the warmth. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you say yes to dinner? Really? Natasha set down her chopsticks, thinking about how to answer. Because you asked, like you actually wanted to know me, not just like you wanted something from me. And because I've spent the last 2 years working and studying and barely doing anything else, and maybe I needed to do something unexpected. Even if that something involves a man with complicated family business, especially if... She surprised herself with the admission. Safe and predictable hasn't exactly been exciting so far. I can promise you excitement. His voice dropped slightly. But I can also promise respect, honesty, whatever this is. I won't play games with you. What is this? She asked quietly. Because you literally just got out of a relationship, and I don't want to be some rebound thing you regret next week. You're not a rebound. He said it with such certainty that she almost believed him. Vivian and I, what we had wasn't real. It was an arrangement that looked good on paper but felt empty in practice. I should have ended it months ago. But you didn't. No, I didn't, he acknowledged. I told myself I was being practical, that feelings weren't as important as stability and family approval and business advantages. And then you kissed my forehead and looked at me like I was a person worth saving. And I realized how tired I was of pretending. Natasha's throat felt tight. That's a lot of pressure to put on one panicked first aid attempt. I'm not putting pressure on you. I'm explaining why I asked you here. He finally did touch her hand. Just his, fingers brushing over her knuckles. I'd like to get to know you better. Take you out again if you're willing. See where this goes without expectations or timelines or family pressure. Your family is going to hate me. The reality hit her suddenly. I'm the crazy catering girl who kissed you at your wedding and somehow caused the whole thing to fall apart. They probably think I'm some kind of... They don't think anything about you because I haven't told them about you. He cut in gently. Right now, you're just a kind stranger who had unfortunate timing. Let's keep it that way for a while. A secret. Privacy, he corrected. There's a difference. I'm not ashamed of having dinner with you. I just don't want my mother interrogating you about your intentions before we've even figured out what those intentions are. That made sense. Okay, private for now. But if this continues, if we keep seeing each other, I won't be a permanent secret. I don't do that. Fair enough. He squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. Now eat more dumplings before they get cold. Mrs. Chen will be offended if we don't finish everything. They talked through the rest of dinner about everything and nothing. Her classes, his frustration with family expectations, her dreams of maybe opening a clinic back in Uganda someday, his complicated relationship with his younger brother who wanted nothing to do with the family business. Ji-hoon thinks I'm selling my soul, Hyun-Woo said, playing with his napkin. He moved to Denver to get away from all of it, became a graphic designer, lives in a tiny apartment and barely speaks to our father. Do you wish you could do that? Just walk away? Sometimes, he admitted. But it's not that simple when you're the oldest son. The expectations, The responsibilities, they were there before I even understood what they meant. That sounds lonely. It can be. He looked at her with something that might have been hope. Less lonely now, though. Maybe. Over the next few weeks, Natasha fell into a rhythm she hadn't expected. Classes during the day, studying in the evenings, and whenever her schedule allowed. Hyun-Woo. He showed up at odd times with coffee when she had late library sessions. Sent her links to medical articles he thought she'd find interesting. Took her to hole-in-the-wall restaurants all over Boston where the food was incredible and the atmosphere was low-key. "How do you find these places?" she asked one evening as they sat in a tiny Ethiopian restaurant in Jamaica Plain, tearing off pieces of injera and scooping up spicy lentils. "Research," he grinned. "Also, I asked Mrs. Chen for recommendations. She knows every good restaurant in a 50-mile radius." "This is so good." Natasha closed her eyes, savoring the flavors. "It's not exactly like home, but it's close enough to make me a little homesick." "Tell me about home." He leaned forward, genuinely interested. "What do you miss most?" "The noise." She laughed at his surprised expression. "I know that sounds weird, but Kampala is loud. Motorcycles everywhere, people shouting to each other across the street, music playing from every shop. Boston is quiet by comparison. Sometimes the silence keeps me up at night." "I wouldn't have guessed that." "Also the food markets. Fresh fruit that actually tastes like fruit. Street vendors selling roasted maize and muchomo. My mother's matoke." She paused. "And my family, obviously. My little brother keeps texting me asking when I'm sending him new sneakers." "How old is he?" 14. All attitude and long legs. He thinks he's going to be a famous footballer." Her voice softened with affection. "He probably will be too. He's got the talent." "You miss him?" "Every day," she admitted. "But I FaceTime them every Sunday and send money when I can and tell myself it's worth it because I'm building a better future." "Do you ever regret coming here?" "Sometimes. When it's really cold, or I'm exhausted from work and school, or I'm eating terrible cafeteria food and pretending it's fine." She met his eyes. "But then something good happens, like meeting someone who actually listens when I talk, and it feels worth it again." He reached across the table, taking her hand properly this time. "I listen because everything you say is worth hearing." "That's very smooth." "I'm serious." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "You have this way of seeing the world that's so clear, hopeful. It's refreshing after spending so much time around people who only see angles and advantages." "I see angles and advantages sometimes too," she pointed out. "I'm not some naive optimist. No. But you lead with kindness. That's rare in my world." Their fingers intertwined naturally, and Natasha felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. This was getting serious, real, and she wasn't sure she was ready for that. But she also wasn't sure she wanted to. "Stop it." Her phone buzzed with a text from Kafilwi. "Remember you have that pharmacology exam tomorrow. Don't let the hot mafia guy distract you too much." Natasha snorted and showed Hyun-Woo the message. "I like your roommate," he said, amused. "She's protective." "She's suspicious of everyone," Natasha corrected. "But yeah, she means well. We should probably get you home then. Can't have me ruining your grades." They walked out into the February cold, and Hyun-Woo immediately shrugged off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders despite her protests. "You're going to freeze," she argued. "I'll survive. You're wearing a sweater. I have layers." The coat smelled like him, something clean and expensive that she couldn't quite identify. She pulled it tighter around herself as they walked to where his car was parked. "Can I ask you something?" she said once they were inside, the heater slowly warming the interior. "Always." "What happens when your family finds out about me?" "Not if, when, because eventually they will." He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw tight in the dim light. "Honestly, I don't know. My mother will probably have opinions. My father will run a background check if he hasn't already. There will be questions about your intentions and whether this is appropriate and why I couldn't just find a nice Korean girl from a good family. That's what I thought. But here's what I do know. He turned to face her fully. I'm 31 years old. I've spent my entire life making decisions based on what my family wanted, what was expected, what made business sense. And look where that got me. Standing at an altar about to marry someone who didn't even respect me enough to be faithful. Hyun-Woo, I'm not saying you're the solution to all my problems. He continued, I'm not putting that on you. But you make me want to make decisions for myself, live my life on my terms, and if that causes problems with my family, then we'll deal with those problems together. If you want to. I want to. The words came out stronger than she'd expected. But I need you to be sure. Really sure. Because I'm not going to be some secret you hide when it gets complicated. I've worked too hard to be ashamed of who I am. Sir, I would never ask you to be. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead against hers in a gesture that felt more intimate than any kiss. You're incredible, Natasha Luanga. Exactly as you are. They stayed like that for a long moment, breathing the same air before pulling apart, and Hyun-Woo started the car. The drive back to her apartment was quiet, but comfortable. When they arrived, he walked her to the door like he always did. Text me after your exam tomorrow, he said, tucking a loose braid behind her ear. Let me know how it goes. I will. He pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, his lips warm against her skin. Good luck. Not that you need it. Natasha watched him walk back to his car before heading inside, where Kafilwi immediately pounced. You're falling for him. It wasn't a question. Maybe. Natasha collapsed onto the couch. Probably. Is that stupid? Probably. Kafilwi settled next to her. But since when has that stopped anyone? Just be careful, okay? Men from powerful families, they have different rules than the rest of us. I know. Natasha sighed. Believe me, I know. But knowing and being able to stop herself were two very different things. The exam the next day went well, and Natasha texted Hyun-Woo a triumphant message complete with celebration emojis. His response came immediately, told you, dinner Saturday to celebrate. She was about to respond when another message came through, this one from an unknown number. Stay away from Hyun-Woo Park. This is your only warning. Natasha stared at the screen, her stomach dropping. She screenshotted the message and forwarded it to Hyun-Woo with a single question mark. His call came through seconds. Later. Are you okay? His voice was tight with concern. I'm fine. Just confused. Who would send this? I have a few guesses. He sounded angry now. Where are you? On campus, about to head to the library. Stay there. I'm coming to get you. Hyun-Woo, I have studying to do and... Please. The single word stopped her protests. Let me make sure you're safe. Then I'll explain everything. 20 minutes later, she was in his car again, but this time the atmosphere was different. Tense. Vivian's family has been making noise, he finally said. They're upset about how the wedding ended. Embarrassed. They're trying to blame you instead of facing the fact that their daughter was the one who cheated. That's ridiculous. It's politics, he said grimly. The Rousseau family has connections throughout Boston. They can make life difficult if they choose to. Can they hurt me? The question came out smaller than she intended. Not while I'm around. His voice was steel. But they can harass you, make threats, try to scare you into disappearing. Well, that's not going to work. Natasha crossed her arms. I don't scare that easily. I know. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. But I'd feel better if you let me assign someone to keep an eye on you. Just for a while. You mean like a bodyguard? More like a protective detail. Someone to make sure nobody bothers you between classes or follows you home. Natasha wanted to argue, to insist she could take care of herself. But the truth was, she was a nursing student living in a small apartment in Dorchester. She had no resources to deal with wealthy, angry people who wanted her gone. "Okay," she agreed quietly. "But just for a while. I'm not living the rest of my life with a babysitter." "Just until things calm down," he promised, reaching for her hand. "I'm sorry you're caught up in this. It's not your fault that your ex-fiancé is vindictive." "No, but it's my life that dragged you into it." His grip tightened slightly. "If you want to walk away, if this is too much, I would understand." Natasha thought about it seriously. This was complicated, potentially dangerous. Definitely more drama than she'd signed up for when she'd impulsively checked on a swooning groom. But she also thought about the way Hyun-Woo listened when she talked, the way he made her laugh, the way he saw her as a person, not just an obstacle or an advantage, the way he kissed her forehead like she was something precious. "I'm not walking away," she said firmly. "But I'm going to need you to be completely honest with me going forward. No surprises. If there's something I should know about your family or your business or crazy ex-fiancés, you tell me. Deal?" "Deal." Relief flooded his expression. "I promise. Complete honesty from now on." "Good." She squeezed his hand. "Now take me back to campus. I actually do have studying to do." The protective detail turned out to be a woman named Hyun-Woo, who looked like she could break bones without breaking a sweat, but had a surprisingly warm smile. She stayed back far enough to give Natasha space, but close enough to intervene if needed. "This is so weird," Natasha whispered to Kafilwe as they sat in the library, very aware that Hyun was positioned near the entrance. "Weird but kind of cool," Kafilwe whispered back. "You've got your own personal security. Very bodyguard romance novel of you." "This is my life, not a romance novel." "Could have fooled me." Kafilwe grinned. "You're literally dating the Korean Mafia while being threatened by his ex. If that's not romance novel material, I don't know what is." Natasha threw a wadded-up piece of paper at her, earning a stern look from the student at the next table. But as she tried to focus on her pharmacology notes, she couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get more complicated. The threatening text was just the beginning. She was right. The flowers arrived at her apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. 24 white roses with no card. Beautiful, but unsettling. "These aren't from Hyun-Woo," Natasha said immediately when Kafilwe brought them inside. "How do you know?" "Because he always includes a card. Always. And he knows I prefer wildflowers to roses." Kafilwe set the vase down carefully. "So, who sent them?" Natasha pulled out her phone and took a picture, sending it to Hyun-Woo with a simple question. "Yours?" His response was immediate. "No. Don't touch them. I'm sending someone to pick them up." Within an hour, Hyun had removed the flowers, and Hyun-Woo had arrived personally, his face grim. "The Rousseau family is escalating," he said without preamble. "White roses are what they send before they make a move." "What kind of move?" Natasha tried to keep her voice steady. "Usually financial or social. They'll try to get you fired from your catering job. Maybe cause problems with your student visa status. Make it impossible for you to stay in Boston." He paced her small living room like a caged animal. "They want you gone, and they're not subtle about it. Can they actually do that? Mess with my visa? With enough money and the right connections? Maybe. They know people in immigration." His jaw was tight. "But I know people too. Better people. I won't let them touch you." "This is insane." Kafilwe spoke up from where she'd been quietly listening. "All this over a cancelled wedding." "It's about reputation," Hyun-Woo explained. "The Rousseau family has built their identity on being untouchable. Perfect. Having their daughter publicly exposed as a cheater damages that image. They need someone to blame, and Natasha is the easiest target. I'm not a target, Natasha said quietly but firmly. I'm a person, and I'm not leaving Boston just because some rich family is having a tantrum. I know. Hyun-Woo stopped pacing and came to sit beside her. But I need you to be extra careful. Don't go anywhere alone. Keep Hyun close. And if anything feels off, anything at all, you call me immediately. You're scaring me, she admitted. Good. His expression softened slightly. Fear keeps you alert. Just don't let it paralyze you. He pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, then another to her cheek. I have to go deal with some things, but I'll call you tonight, okay? After he left, Natasha sat in silence for a long moment before Kafilwi spoke up. You know you can still walk away from all this, right? It's not too late. It feels too late, Natasha said softly. I'm already in it. Might as well see it through. That's either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. The next few days passed in tense quiet. No more flowers, no more threatening texts. But the absence of threats somehow felt worse, like waiting for a storm to hit. Natasha threw herself into studying, refusing to let fear control her life. She had midterms coming up, and she'd worked too hard to let some vindictive ex-fiancé ruin her grades. Hyun-Woo called every night, their conversations lasting hours. They talked about everything. His complicated relationship with his younger brother, Ji-hoon, who he hadn't spoken to in months, her mother's nagging about finding a nice Ugandan boy to settle down with, the weird dreams they both had about showing up to important events without pants. I feel like I know you better through phone calls than I knew Vivian in 2 years, he said one night, his voice rough with exhaustion. That's because you're actually talking to me like I'm a real person, Natasha pointed out, not just checking boxes on a list of requirements. Fair point. He paused. Can I see you this weekend? Properly? I want to take you somewhere special. Define special. Trust me. That's a dangerous question. But will you? Natasha smiled despite herself. Yes, I trust you. Saturday arrived cold but clear, the kind of February day that reminded you spring would eventually come. Hyun-Woo picked her up at noon wearing a thick coat and a mysterious smile. Where are we going? She asked for the 3rd time. Patience. He took her hand as they walked to his car. The drive took them out of the city, heading north through suburbs that gradually gave way to smaller towns. Natasha watched the landscape change, curious but content to let him keep his secret. They finally stopped in a small town called Gloucester, right on the coast. The ocean stretched out grey and endless, waves crashing against rocky shores. We're going whale watching, Hyun-Woo announced, looking pleased with himself. I know it's not peak season, but the tour guide owes me a favor and said we might get lucky. Whale watching, Natasha repeated, delighted. I've never seen whales before. Then today is the day. He bought them hot chocolate from a nearby stand, and they boarded a small boat with only a handful of other passengers. The ocean was rougher than Natasha expected, the boat rocking in ways that made her stomach flip. But Hyun-Woo stayed close, one arm around her waist to steady her, pointing out seabirds and explaining the different types of whales they might see. There, one of the other passengers shouted suddenly. A huge shape breached the water maybe 50 yards from the boat, massive and graceful all at once. A humpback whale, according to the guide, probably heading north after winter feeding grounds. Natasha gasped, clutching Hyun-Woo's arm. That's amazing. They watched the whale surface several more times, its tail fluke slapping the water before it dove deep. Other whales appeared in the distance, putting on a show that felt almost magical. Thank you for this, Natasha said softly as they stood at the railing, the cold wind whipping her braids around her face. This is exactly what I needed. A break from reality. He pulled her closer. Time with you where nobody is threatening me or sending creepy flowers. She leaned into his warmth. Just this. Normal and wonderful and simple. I wish I could give you simple all the time. His voice carried regret. I don't need simple all the time. She turned to face him, the ocean at her back. I just need honest, real, you. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing across her cheek. You have me. All of me. Complications and all. The boat rocked and they swayed with it, foreheads pressed together in the cold afternoon air. It felt like a promise, unspoken but solid. The ride back to Boston was quiet, both of them lost in thought. But it was comfortable silence, the kind that comes when words aren't necessary. They stopped for dinner at a small seafood place Hyun-Woo knew, eating fried clams and thick chowder while watching the sun set over the water. My mother wants to meet you, he said suddenly, setting down his fork. Natasha's stomach dropped. What? She found out about us. I don't know how. Probably paid someone to follow me. But she knows. He reached across the table for her hand. She's demanding a formal introduction. She's going to hate me. She's going to be difficult, he corrected. But that doesn't mean you'll let her intimidate you. You're not someone who backs down easily. Meeting Korean mothers wasn't covered in my cross-cultural communication class. He laughed, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. Just be yourself. Answer her questions honestly. Don't let her see fear. That's a lot. You can handle it. His grip tightened on her hand. And I'll be right there with you. The whole time. When? Next Sunday? Family dinner at their house in Weston. He made a face. It's going to be formal and probably uncomfortable. My father will be there too, and probably my Aunt Mi-suk, who will ask invasive questions, and my Uncle Dong-min, who will judge everything about you silently. You're really selling this, Natasha said dryly. I'm preparing you. Corrected. Because I don't want you blindsided. They're going to test you, push boundaries, try to see if you'll crack under pressure. And if I do crack, then we deal with it together, he said simply. But I don't think you will. You're stronger than you think. Natasha wasn't sure she believed that, but she appreciated his confidence in her. The week leading up to the dinner was torture. Natasha studied Korean etiquette online, practiced bowing at different angles, stressed about what to wear, and generally drove Kafilwi crazy with her anxiety. You're overthinking this, Kafilwi said for the 100th time. Just be polite, respectful, and yourself. If they don't like you, that's their problem. Easy for you to say. You're not the one about to face down Korean Mafia royalty. True, but I have faith in you. Kafilwi handed her a small wrapped package. Here, wear these. For confidence. Inside were delicate gold earrings shaped like tiny butterflies. Kefi, these are gorgeous. They were my grandmother's. She always said they brought her courage. Kafilwi smiled. I figured you could use some borrowed courage. Natasha hugged her friend tightly. Thank you for everything. Just come back alive and tell me all the details. Kafilwi pulled back, grinning. And if his mother is awful, we'll trash-talk her over wine later. Sunday arrived too quickly. Hyun-Woo picked her up at 5, looking handsome but tense in a dark suit. You look beautiful, he said, taking in her modest blue dress and the butterfly earrings. Ready? Absolutely not. Natasha climbed into the car. But let's do this anyway. The Park family home in Weston was exactly as intimidating as she'd imagined. Massive and elegant, with perfectly maintained grounds even in winter. Her heart hammered as they walked to the front door. Remember, Hyun-Woo squeezed her hand. I'm with you, no matter what happens. The door opened before they could knock, revealing an older woman who could only be Hyun-Woo's mother. She was elegant and sharp-eyed, her gaze sweeping over Natasha in one thorough assessment. Sir, Mrs. Park said in accented but perfect English. You are the girl who kissed my son at his wedding." Natasha lifted her chin, meeting the older woman's eyes directly. "Yes, ma'am," though it was more of a first-aid check than a romantic gesture. Mrs. Park's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or respect. "We shall see." She stepped aside. "Come in. Dinner is ready." Natasha exchanged one last glance with Hyun-Woo before stepping inside, knowing her life was about to get even more complicated. But with his hand warm in hers and Kafilwi's butterfly earrings lending her borrowed courage, she thought maybe she could handle it. She had to. If you loved this story and want to see more like it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment and let me know which part hit you the hardest or what you think should happen next between Natasha and Hyun-Woo.